Hello and welcome to Sliders and Wings, a podcast about the TV show Sliders.
And the TV show Wings.
And all the other forgotten TV shows of the 90s.
I'm Valerie Temple.
And I'm Rachel Cox.
Happy Halloween, Rachel.
Happy Halloween. Oh, so spooky.
Ooh.
Of course, it's actually October 23rd.
Don't tell people our secrets.
So in honor of it being Halloween time, we're doing a spooky show, which is Eerie, Indiana.
Yes.
My name is Marshall Teller. Not long ago, I was living in New Jersey, just across the river from New York City. It was crowded, polluted, and full of crime. I loved it. But my parents wanted a better life for my sister and me. So we moved to a place so wholesome, so squeaky clean you could only find it on TV. Unfortunately, nothing could be further from the truth. Sure, my new hometown looks normal enough. What's wrong with this picture? The American dream come true, right? Wrong. Nobody believes me, but this is the center of weirdness for the entire planet.
Thank you, little paper boy.
Eerie, Indiana. My home, sweet home. Still don't believe me? You will.
Done this one sooner actually because we both have strong memories of this one.
Oh yeah, this is truly a fave.
So let me just read the little Wikipedia. I guess, we should probably give some money to Wikipedia because we're depending on it a lot for
I know.
research.
Aaron gives to it every time they ask.
Oh, that's nice. Eerie, Indiana is an American horror science fiction television series that originally aired on NBC from September 15th, 1991 to April 12th, 1992. So that's not even a season. Basically.
One season wonder.
A total of 19 episodes were produced. And then it looked like it was rerun on the Disney Channel later on in the 90s. And then in 97, the show generated a newfound base when the Fox Kids network aired the series on Saturday mornings for a few weeks, I guess.
But I guess it was such a hit that it spawned a new version of the show, like Eerie, Indiana, The Other Dimension or something like that.
Yeah, so the renewed popularity of the series encouraged Fox Kids to produce a spin-off, Eerie, Indiana, The Other Dimension, lasting only one season in 1998. So the show is about a teenager named Marshall Teller who moved from New York City to Eerie, Indiana, and basically it's the weird capital of the world. So it's kind of like X-Files for kids. So like examples are they see urban legends such as Bigfoot and a still living Elvis Presley. As we're going to talk about, the premiere episode is the one where they discover there's this woman from the 60s who's basically found the fountain of youth by keeping herself in Tupperware.
Yeah, it's called Foreverware.
Foreverware, and it drove me crazy because it seemed like none of the characters could decide on how to pronounce Foreverware. They kept saying like Foreverware. Foreverware. It's Foreverware.
Get it right, okay?
But that was the one that I like most vividly remembered.
Wow.
But I'm pretty sure I watched this show. This hits every note for me.
Yeah, I watched this from top to bottom. I even owned the DVD set, which I, for some reason, sold years ago too. It was one of those things where I like got the DVD set, watched it all, and then I was like, am I going to watch this again? And I hadn't watched it again until I had a reason to for this podcast, but then I ended up watching 7 episodes.
And they're all on YouTube.
It felt so good. So delicious. I always describe this show as literally the poor man's Pete and Pete, because it's like Pete and Pete, but it was on network television, so you didn't have to pay for cable.
Isn't it more like Pete and Pete crossed with X-Files?
Yeah.
Two buddies going on adventures and there's a lot of weird stuff, but also it's got the sci-fi horror element. Pete and Pete, I would see it occasionally because, we would have cable sometimes, but I never watched it regularly, but it did seem really good. I never seen all of it.
It had a quirky sensibility. There were all these weird characters who roamed around this weird town. I remember there's an episode of Pete and Pete where There's this telephone booth that keeps ringing. The phone has been ringing for years and years and years. And there was kind of something like that happened in one of the episodes that I watched.
And the younger kid is also the middle child from Picket Fences.
Simon.
Like his assistant.
He specializes in Twin Peaks-esque shows. Eerie, Indiana, and Picket Fences.
And then the main kid is from, you said Hocus Pocus, right?
Right. Omri Katz.
Hasn't done much since.
I looked at his Wikipedia and it says he's retired. It says retired American actor. He must have put out a statement.
He owns a laundromat somewhere.
He's got to be getting some checks from all the times people watch Hocus Pocus.
I mean, I feel like Hocus Pocus, somehow it's turned into a classic. Someone decided that it would be a regular Halloween thing.
Oh, it definitely has. There is a cult of Hocus Pocus that has, I think, very recently arisen.
I just don't think it's good.
I don't think it's that great either. There's some things that I like about it. Obviously, I love Bette Midler and Kathy Najimy and Sarah Jessica Parker. Them as the witches, very good. Thora Birch, also, I'm a longtime Thora Birch fan. It's a movie for kids. So watching it as an adult, it's not that compelling to me.
I think I didn't see it as a kid, so it didn't snag me. But the Halloween special that I always want to watch, that was my go-to, was Garfield Halloween Special.
Oh yeah.
Where he goes trick-or-treating, and it's got like songs by Dr. John.
Oh, really? I remember that special being vaguely scary.
Yes, because he goes to this island and there's like pirate ghosts, and it is pretty scary.
Also, every Halloween, I mean, my favorite part of Halloween during the 90s was the Roseanne Halloween episodes. So good. You know, you say what you want about Roseanne, she did deliver a good Halloween episode.
That's one of the most memorable things about the Connors, that they love Halloween. And the reason why they're doing it all up is because they love Halloween and they're known for doing for Halloween. But now it's like every family and every show and every sitcom does that. Modern fan, like people are basically renting costumes. They're wearing professional level costumes and stuff. Started with Roseanne.
I was going to ask you if they continued that on the Connors, because I know you watched that, or do you still watch that?
No, but we did see one of the older episodes with Halloween where like really early on, when Dan's still doing drywall, and this guy comes by to talk to Dan about a drywall job, and Dan leaves the room for a second. Roseanne's like, just go with me, okay? He goes, okay. So basically she pretends to insult him and like ruin Dan's chances of getting the job by like messing him up. And he's like, I never want to talk to you again. You can't have this job. And he storms off, and Dan loses his mind. And then
it was all a prank.
It was all a prank. It was good.
I think that was their first Halloween episode.
Dan still had the curly hair.
So good. Oh, just so wonderful. They've constructed a whole haunted house inside of their house. And I remember Jackie is a head under like a cake topper thing. It's so funny.
We've digressed. Eerie, Indiana.
Eerie, Indiana. So that first episode is about Foreverware, like a Fantasia on Tupperware. And I thought that was kind of a brilliant thing for them to cover in their first episode, because it is supposed to be about this kid who has moved from the East Coast to the Midwest. And to me, there's nothing more Midwestern than Tupperware.
Exactly. Then there's no explanation for how they breathe in the Tupperware at night, but whatever.
They've got weird twins who are named Bertram and Ernest.
Bert and Ernie.
Yeah. And twins are creepy. So they got that going for them. They kind of look like Tweedledee and Tweedledum.
I would guess the show didn't succeed because when you want to make something that appeals to families, so it's something that kids and families can watch together, and maybe this didn't really hit that spot. It was more for like weird kids.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I must have been a really weird kid because I just ate it up. Literally, I think I kept watching episodes because I wanted to get to my favorites. The two episodes that I always think of when I think of Eerie, Indiana are, there's an episode called The Losers, where the guest star is Dick Miller, who he's been in a lot of Joe Dante stuff, and Joe Dante was the creative consultant for the show. You know who Joe Dante is, right?
No.
Oh, he's a director, and he did Gremlins. He did The Burbs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And The Losers is about Marshall's dad loses his briefcase. And so Marshall and his friend Simon go on this mission to try and find it. And in trying to find it, they discover that underneath Eerie, Indiana is basically a giant basement of lost items. There's an entire department of missing items, almost like a government operation. There's a list of things that they have to take from people so they lose it. Pen caps and luggage, incredible visuals. It's this huge, messy storage facility. And Dick Miller plays basically the scavenger. The guy who's in charge of the department is giving him things to take from people so they go missing. So they're trying to find this briefcase, and Marshall finds himself stuck in this weird zone, and he almost goes missing himself. They won't let him leave.
That sounds fantastic and also not familiar at all.
And then Simon is trying to find Marshall, and he's like, where do things go missing? Maybe if I go someplace where things go missing, I'll go missing myself. And so he shoves himself into a laundromat dryer and just appears in this like weird basement covered in socks. It's so good. The other great episode, fantastic Chef's Kiss episode. It was a Halloween episode where they're babysitting Simon's little brother, who was played by the kid who was the main little kid in Kindergarten Cop. It's Halloween trick-or-treat night. They have got this whole plan for what to do on Halloween, but they have to babysit this little kid, and he's kind of a handful. The kids hold up watching this old horror movie on TV, and through some twist of events, the kid bites a remote control to the TV, which zaps him into the movie. And then, of course, that means since he's in the movie, the mummy that was in the horror movie is now in Eerie, Indiana. It's so good.
I should watch this with Oscar. This is better than making him watch Stephen King's Chapel Wait.
Absolutely, Rachel. This is the exact kind of thing you would want to watch with Oscar, because it is sort of spooky, but mostly just fun. It was made with kids in mind.
I used to love the show called Encyclopedia Brown. It was a boy who solved mysteries. I think it was a book too, but it was something that I just saw once or twice on HBO, but it captured my imagination. I would have dreams about it. Like I just wanted to be out there solving mysteries with Encyclopedia Brown.
I have a deep ingrained memory of watching Encyclopedia Brown. He's got this girl who's his sidekick, and she's like, Encyclopedia Brown, you don't know everything. He's like, oh yeah, I can even tell you what color your underwear is. She's like, ew, yeah? What color? He's like, pink with little hearts on it. And she's like, how'd you know? And he's like, you've got your shirt tucked into your underwear. And then she chases after him. Still think about that sometimes. Wafts to the front of my brain every once in a while.
Well, Eerie, Indiana is probably the piece de resistance for this podcast. It's the perfect, forgotten, good show that you can watch now.
You can watch it now. Although I do have to say that there is a little bit of a drop off the last third of the series. Yeah. It's when they introduce the character that is played by Jason Marsden, who, by the way, is also in Hocus Pocus. He is the voice of Binks the cat.
Oh.
So he's kind of in Hocus Pocus. He's not even the best talking cat of the 90s, by the way. That would be Salem from Sabrina the Teenage Witch. He shows up as this character named Dax X, which is a cool name. And he's got all gray hair. Most of the episodes prior to the introduction of that character are just capsule episodes, standalone little stories. And then you get to him, and it starts this weird overarching storyline that is kind of convoluted and not that interesting. They are trying something new. I don't know. Did they run out of steam? I don't know.
Another good kid show that's, I think, still on now that is about weird stuff is called Odd Squad. It's a Canadian show, but it airs on PBS Kids, and then it's also on Prime. And it's kind of like MathNet, an FBI for kids, but they investigate odd things. And they have all sorts of different inventions to undo odd things. Some woman just starts quacking like a duck. She doesn't know why. And then the Odd Squad shows up, and they have her voice change with this machine that they have. Yeah, and of course, a lot of the odd things are solved by doing math.
Great. I love a teachable moment.
I really like the people playing the parents in Eerie, Indiana. I thought they were funny. They weren't tropes. They had unique personalities.
The dad's a scientist, and he's developing products. I think he works for something called Ideas Inc. or something. Things Incorporated. He is kind of like the dad from Gremlins, who's an inventor.
Oh, right.
That's always like a fun recurring thing. What's this newest weird invention? And how can it go wrong? I love that. That's fun. The sister is named Cindy, but spelled weird.
That was a little tropey. She's like a ditz.
But it's called out in the first episode that her name is spelled Syndy. Marshall's just basically like, how dare she have an opinion about anything with that name?
Yeah, but she didn't give it to herself.
No, I know. It's not her fault.
Now I'm struggling to think of a Mad magazine.
Easy. Dreary, Indiana.
Oh,
Easy.
I'm totally blanking.
That's
Got
okay.
nothing.
That's okay. There's no need to improve on perfection.
Yeah, but it's Eerie, Indiana, and there's just no comma.
That's no good at all.
Bleary, Indiana, and everyone has insomnia.
Good. Bleary, weary,
Weary, yeah.
leery, leery.
I'm leery of
I'm
Indiana.
leery of Indiana. The most 90s, it's not really too 90s. I would say Marshall's hair. It's like boys grown out haircut. It doesn't even have a name.
It's like a long droopy bang. I have more for most 90s because I watched more episodes.
Mhm.
So there were just a sprinkling of weird references that I'm sure were much more interesting for the parents watching the show. There's an episode I watched where one of the boys buys the other boy a birthday cake, but he buys it on discount. So it already has writing on it. And the writing says, "Good luck, Julia and Kiefer."
Oh my God.
And the one kid's just like, "Who are Julia and Kiefer?" And he's like, "I don't know. It was on sale. I guess I didn't need it anymore." And I was like, whoa, a reference to the broken engagement of Julia Roberts and Kiefer Sutherland. That's pretty good.
That's so 90s.
So 90s.
That's the most 90s.
And then in the monster movie episode, the Halloween episode, the kid brother, they notice he's inside the TV and Simon's yelling at him to get out. And he's like, "Harley Schwarzenegger Holmes, get out of there." His middle name is Schwarzenegger. It's funny.
Accent corner, not really.
Not really much. If you really want to nitpick, if you really wanted to highlight the fact that he's supposed to be from the East Coast, give him some sort of East Coast accent. But I mean, he's a little kid.
And there's plenty of transplants that live in New York and have different accents.
Another 90s thing, Tobey Maguire was in an episode.
Oh,
He plays a ghost, an old-timey ghost.
was he in his teens then?
I think he was probably 14.
Oh, wow. I haven't seen him in a long time.
I don't know what he's up to.
I'm just on pins and needles waiting to talk about our What You're Watching. Okay, so in honor of not forgotten things, but 90s things, we both watched in honor of Halloween. I Know You Did Last Summer. And I had never seen it before.
Oh my God.
It was like the kind of thing that I could get Greg to watch because he's very into watching cheesy 80s and 90s things.
And this really fits
It
the bill.
was like being back there, man. For starters, I don't know if he directed it, but the guy who wrote it is the creator of Dawson's Creek.
And he also wrote Scream, Kevin Williamson.
That's what I thought too. It was very similar to Scream, the pacing. So which came out first though?
I would have to say Scream. So Scream was directed by Wes Craven, but the writer was Kevin Williamson. And then I Know What You Did Last Summer came out in 1997. So 1 year later.
Okay. So this movie is, oh my God, so 90s. And there's so many scenarios where normally you would use a cell phone. Like,
are you sure that this guy did Dawson's Creek? Okay.
I'm not, but it's like whole set in Wilmington, South Carolina.
Yeah, creator Kevin
Okay.
Williamson. Whoa.
But like the whole setting, it was like they were shooting on the same location.
The villain is dressed as a fisherman, kills people with a fish hook. At one point, there's a dead body that is covered in crabs, which really made me laugh because Jennifer Love Hewitt driving down the street in her car and she hears this like scratch, scratch, scratch sound. And she's like, "What's that? What's that?" And I assumed it would be the dangling hook.
Well, a callback, yeah, because they already talked about
A
that.
callback to the classic urban legend, American folklore, as Freddie Prinze Jr. says. But no, she opens up her trunk and it's dead Johnny Galecki covered in crabs.
And I felt so stupid at that point because when you see Johnny Galecki for the first time, I'm like, he did it. He's the murderer. I mean, clearly it's him, but he's like the first person he kills.
I had a problem because there's no reason that he should die. Like he had nothing to do with it.
Oh no, he was just caught the murderer's attention. Well, that's the thing. Like after he was dead, Greg and I were like, who's left? I guess the older sister did. There's like no one else left who we've met that's not these four people. We haven't seen any of their parents except for one of them.
Well, I think the red herring was supposed to be that Freddie Prinze Jr. did it. He ends up being Billy Blue, the guy who visited Anne Heche.
I thought that was pretty obvious when she just said there's this guy named Billy Blue. And I'm like, well, there's only one other guy.
Exactly.
It's him. Greg kept saying, like, which one of them is supposed to be the worst actor? Which ones do you think is the worst actor? And we're like, I said
Freddie
I actually thought
Prinze Jr.
He's supposed to be the worst, but Ryan Philippe really was not doing a good job either.
Oh, he was hemming it up. He was just screaming.
The character's last name was Cox, though.
I know.
Barry Cox.
Barry Cox. When he said his name, I was like, Cox. Another famous Cox for you.
Cox, like Barry Cox from I Know What You Did Last Summer. That's what I'll tell the telemarketers on the phone.
That's right.
The makeup artist or whoever was instructed to make Jennifer Love Hewitt look like shit in the second act did a bang up job because she looked terrible. She looked like sick, and then like, she had the stringy bangs.
The costumers and makeup people were not doing any of those girls any favors because
I think that they were at the time. I mean, weren't they supposed to be hot?
Yes, they were supposed to be hot, which is why it's shocking to see how much fabric Jennifer Love Hewitt was drowning in the whole movie. It's just like long ankle.
Because she's depressed. That's what they're trying to show. But this is what's the most 90s about this show. So imagine you're somewhere and you find a dead body and then you have to go walk to a police station or something. Like, I found a body. And then you got to like take them back to where the body is. You can't just call and say like, come here to the body because you don't have a cell phone.
Right.
And then two, in the opening section, they're best friends. And then this horrible thing happens where they accidentally kill a guy and they bury the body, hide the body. And then it cuts to a year later and none of them has any idea what the other three are doing.
No, not at all.
God, can you imagine? You dropped out of college, huh?
You didn't follow that on Instagram? All of my posts about...
I'm completely surprised by what other people are doing.
You would have totally been caught up with how much of a washout everyone was. Everyone's dreams were dashed.
Well, because they had such trauma. Yeah,
it was so sad. Yeah, a lot of trauma.
I love that Sarah Michelle Gellar's character's greatest dream was to be on Guiding Light.
I know.
Oh, that's what I want. I would move to New York and be on a soap opera.
Oh my God. She was wearing the worst wig in that movie.
The whole time? Or you mean after her?
Before. It was a wig.
Oh, okay.
It was just big Barbie hair. They really ham-fistedly call attention to her hair right before it gets chopped off. Her sister's just like, you and your hair, how pathetic.
Well, I thought that was supposed to make us think it was the sister. I mean, I thought it was a sister at that point. Like, this woman is clearly a bitch.
For no reason at all.
No, like, she's supposed to be jealous of her younger sister, and yet they gave the role to Bridget Wilson, who's like absolutely gorgeous and skinnier and looks more like a model than the younger sister. It's like, what is she so sour about?
No idea, but she was not having it.
I like the houses. I felt they were very realistic. I appreciated that. Julie's house and Helen's house. I don't know why her father didn't talk to her when she came home. She was like, hi, Dad. And the dad doesn't answer. I'm like, what's going on?
So Sarah Michelle Gellar goes to sleep and she wakes up and she's had all of her hair chopped off. And I was like, oh, are they going to give her like a short 90s chappy do, like a cute 90s cut? No, it's still shoulder length.
No, I know. I was like, wait, how did they fix her hair?
I'm just convinced that she was like, absolutely not. I'm not going any shorter than the shoulder. Okay.
Was this right when Buffy started?
Around the same time.
Yeah. The other most 90s thing is all the guys wearing super tight wife beaters and baggy jeans. Ryan Philippe was so skinny.
He had a very in-sync era Justin Timberlake thing going on for me in this movie. Skinny, muscly, blonde. Did you notice all of the thumb rings?
No.
Both girls, Jennifer Love Hewitt and Sarah Michelle Gellar, both had thumb rings. It was wonderful.
And I love Jennifer Love Hewitt's outfit in the end of the movie. It's kind of like a peasant tank midriff and then something short sleeve on top of it, just as like a little cover up, and then bootleg tight jeans. And then I think like tennis shoes or something, but you could find kids on college campuses now wearing the exact same outfits.
Oh, absolutely. Speaking of the last scene of the movie, apparently that was a reshoot because apparently in the original script, she receives an email from the killer saying, I still know what you did last summer. They shot the whole thing. They delivered it to the studio. And the studio's like, you got to do a little better than this.
Oh, that reminds me, though, the other most 90s thing is all the internet detective work that she did.
Oh, my God.
Like every time that we needed some sort of drip of information, she would just go to her computer and do another search and find another article and be like, oh, wait, there's this other person mentioned. It looks like microfiche. It's just like almost like a scanned newspaper article that's online.
I felt like you a little bit when I was watching the movie. It's like 1 year later and it opens on Jennifer Love Hewitt very sadly, morosely writing a paper. And then her roommate, she's wearing this floral jumper with like a white t-shirt underneath, looks gorgeous 90s look, comes in and she's like, come on, get in the car. We're going home for summer. And I was like, why is she writing a paper then? I felt like you a little bit. I was like, okay, this really weird small detail is really throwing me.
The weird small detail that I can't get over is what was up with Helen's dad. Because he owns the department store. He's like a businessman who runs this operating department store. I don't know. He was like sitting and watching TV and she came in and said, hi, Dad. And he didn't even look up.
There were a few moments where I was like, is this supposed to be meaningful or is this just like completely extraneous? Like the whole sequence where Sarah Michelle Gellar is drinking a Diet Coke, they're really milking her drinking this Diet Coke. She's like pouring it into a glass. Is something going to happen?
It seemed cheap. I mean, they just were missing a lot of characters. There's a lot of extras and then just like 10 main characters. Anne Heche did a good job.
Oh, yeah. Well, she was perfectly cast. And she did a great job because like you really needed an actress who moment one, everyone thinks is like something's weird about this person. She seems crazy just from the get-go. It adds a lot because you're like already on board with, okay, I'm uncomfortable with this, but that goes nowhere really. She's just weird for no reason. To me, the movie is not great, obviously.
It didn't have the humor of Scream. It didn't have any humor really.
No, not really at all. What I kept kind of thinking was that Scream was such a big hit that all of these agents and studios and stuff were just like, okay, Kevin Williamson, you're the new star. We'll make whatever you got. Give us any screenplay you got. And he just pulled this out. Here, I have this in my back catalog. And they were like, great, we'll make it.
It was supposed to be a Dawson's Creek Halloween episode, but you can turn to it.
I also kept thinking about how different this movie would be if they made it now. If like A24 made this movie, you wouldn't need the creepy guy in a slicker. It would just be all about their trauma, which probably would be scarier. It is just like a horrific thing to have happen. But this movie deals with it in such a strange way. Like at the end of the movie, they didn't actually kill somebody. So like at the end of the movie, Freddie Prinze and Jennifer Love Hewitt are just like, so we didn't kill anybody. So that's off our chest. So we can live our lives happy and free. And I was like, yeah, but you didn't think you killed someone and you hid the body. Like you dumped a body.
And the two other friends who did it with you were murdered by a serial killer.
Exactly. Well, that's over with. Tra-la-la. Moving on, I guess. This is really making me want to watch the sequel, though. I still know what you did last summer.
Yeah, I think there's just the two, right?
Aaron looked it up. I guess there was a direct-to-DVD third one called I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer. I Still Know What You Did Last Summer has Brandy in it. It also has a very young Jack Black. He plays a white Rasta in it, so it's worth it for that.
Might be interested in checking that out as well.
It's gonna be fun.
You know what? And I was just so happy to see something coming in under 2 hours.
Oh yeah, they knew how to make movies back then.
An hour, 40 minutes. All right. Jennifer Esposito is in it. That's 90s.
Oh my God, there's so many people in this
John
movie.
Hawkes is in it. Huh.
I know, right? It's not good, but it's good in the same way that this was fun to watch. That's how I got Aaron to be on board with watching it. I know it's not good, but it will at least be entertaining on some level.
Are you going to watch Dune?
Maybe.
I mean, I've seen so many different Dunes at this point. It's like, what's going on here? I'm no Timothée Chalamet fan.
Oh, I am. That still doesn't really make me want to see Dune.
I don't mean I like dislike him. I just mean I'm not his like target demo. I wouldn't watch something just for him.
You're not like coozing for Timothée Chalamet.
I'm not standing, as the kids say.
I saw him speak French the other day and I was like, ooh, I like that. I like when people can speak other
This
languages.
really looks like a child to me.
He does.
Might as well be my son. My little French son.
I was watching that show, You, which you haven't watched, but it is also spooky, ooky, ooky.
About the stalker guy?
He's a guy who stalks and kills women, but it's told from his perspective. It's trash, but it's like fun trash. And I don't know if you know this actress, Saffron Burrows.
British.
Yes. And she was in Circle of Friends, is how I know her. And she plays the mother of the wife of the stalker guy in You. I looked up Saffron Burrows and I was like, oh, she's 49. That's not even that old. Is it even possible that she could be this person's mother? Yeah.
Well, I hate it when you have two actors and they're supposed to be a parent and child, and you're like, oh, no way, they're not. And then you'll look and they're like 15 years apart. And then you can see, okay, well, they're trying to age this one up a bit and this one down a bit, but it drives me nuts.
No, this one was just, she would have had this girl when she was 23. And I was like, that's entirely appropriate. But she's 49. Now that I'm 40, I'm like, that's not that old. She wouldn't have a 26-year-old kid. That's crazy.
Oh, I know. I saw a photo the other day of a friend of mine who had a baby at 28, and a photo of her when she had the baby. And I was like a child, like a teen mom.
I got married when I was 27 and I was one of the first people of my friends to get married. And so I felt like a teen bride. 27 in the olden times, people would think I was an old maid. They're like, throw her in the trash. She's done. She is not likely to take a husband.
I'm always so interested in that trend as to whether it will just hit a wall, like a biological wall, where you can't possibly get married and have kids any later, or whether it will bounce back.
Who knows? It is weird. You know, when our parents, when they were growing up, it was totally normal to get married in your early 20s.
Yeah.
And now it's just early 20s. People are like, what are you doing? You're ruining your whole life.
Get it over with, I say.
Rachel, are you going to dress up this year?
I think I'm going to try. It's always been my dream to be a Palmer girl for Halloween, but it's probably not appropriate to do that with kids.
I was a Palmer girl one year.
Oh, I think you told me that. It always just seems like something easy, but it is kind of hard to find that kind of spandex dress.
It's a pretty easy costume because you just pull your hair back and put on red lipstick and wear a black tight dress. Easy. The year that I went as a Robert Palmer girl, only one or two people got who I was.
That's another risk. The only thing I'm doing for Halloween is escorting my kids on their like little neighborhood Halloween parade. I'm going to put up something, a black dress and like a wig, and just
be a witch.
Do something vague. Yeah, I guess.
If I do go somewhere this year, I have this blonde curly wig that I got the year before, I guess, because I didn't go anywhere last year, of course. But the year before, I dressed as a mall walker and I bought this blonde curly wig. And I was looking at the wig and I was like, you know, this is just a pair of jean shorts and a wild printed silk shirt away from being Steve Sanders from 90210. So if I have to pull together a costume real quick, that's in my back pocket.
Yeah, it just really sucks to spend a lot of time putting it together, and it kind of...
I'm a shop your closet kind of gal. There was one year that I just went as a homecoming queen, and it was just because I wanted to wear a Jessica McClintock prom dress that I got from the thrift store, and I had a varsity jacket. So I was like, I'm a homecoming queen.
See, I can't do that. I get a bee in my bonnet and then I have to keep shopping around until I find the right thing. One year, I remember we had a party at the old house in South Philly and my sister did a surprise costume. She came down from New York and she wouldn't tell me what she was going to be. And then she revealed the costume and she was our old foster dog, Blanche Devereaux. You remember this? And like Blanche Devereaux was this street dog that had had many litters and she had these gigantic floppy nipples. So like Sarah had these like gigantic dog nipples hanging off of her. It was a great costume.
That's amazing. So Blanche Devereaux is an appropriate name for that dog because she was...
I mean, this was in the days when slut shaming was totally acceptable.
Yeah. Like the dog's a slut, Blanche is a slut. It fits together really well. Anyway.
Go watch Eerie, Indiana.
Yeah, please.
I'll try to watch some with Oscar.
I think he'll like it.
It's an excuse for me to just watch something that I can tolerate. And then I'll be like, you get to stay up for 20 minutes.
He's going to like that. Thank you for listening to Sliders and Wings, the podcast. You can email us at slidersandwings@gmail.com.
All right. Good night.
Good night, Rachel.